going to give a few moments here while I see everyone joining in. Hi, welcome, Sean. How are you?
Great. How are you doing?
Pretty good. I'm very excited for this summit. So this event is going to be 5 reasons in 10 minutes why EV Nickel is expanding in the Shaw Dome. So as the name suggests, we're going to be doing a quick EV Nickel presentation with our president and CEO, Sean Sampson. And afterwards, we will, of course, open the floor to questions. So at any time, feel free to submit questions, and we'll try to get to them after the presentation is over. And as always, the summit is being recorded and will be available to watch afterwards on Six.com. But Sean, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you to provide us with the 5 top reasons why EV Nickel is expanding in the Shaw Dome.
Super. Thanks, Dasha. Thanks, everyone, for joining as well. So I'm going to zip through things pretty quickly with this presentation. All the content is out of our bigger deck, which is available on our website. So obviously starting with the legals. So big picture, what is EV Nickel? We're all about trying to address the decarbonization challenge. We think that the EVs are driving this new boom in nickel. They're after not just sulfides, but the cleanest sulfides. Where we are draws hydropower, and we have high-grade sulfide, which is a theme you'll hear me come back to. We've now acquired over 30,000 hectares, which is an enormous land package. On that, we have the Langmuir project, which has our starter resource at W4 at 1% nickel. It has over 15 million pounds of that class 1 nickel. We love where we are on the Shaw Dome because of its easy access to Timmins, the hydropower, as I mentioned, the grade and the historic grade that's already there with the historic production. And we have this enormous land package with a lot of potential. So we're doing 3 things: finding more nickel, securing more land, and then creating a clean nickel business. Team-wise, we have a nice tight team. We've got a lot of experience, especially technical. Our technical geos, we have almost 70 years of experience between Paul and Phil, and they are phenomenally experienced in specifically the geology of the Shaw Dome. So our W4, this is the resource we already have on the books. It's 15 million pounds at 1%. It comes to surface. It's a lovely open pitable deposit. That's what we know about, and we think about the huge exploration potential up and down the Langmuir project. So the beige J on this slide is what our starter land package was, and I'm going to talk about the acquisition, which expands it. But the best place to try to find new mineralization and new mines is a place that has had mines before. And the Shaw Dome, even though we're within 50K of Timmins, has not been on the radar of other junior companies. And there has been a lot of high-grade production out of the Shaw Dome. So down on Langmuir, where we've been focused, our thing is we are currently into phase 2 of our drilling. We've got 3 high-grade targets we're after. We're looking at going lower and wider on W4, plus to the east, we have W2 and TZ3. That's our 10,000-meter program, which is already underway. And now we've expanded out the package. So we closed this week on a deal to triple our land package, bumping it up to 21,000 hectares. What we paid for that is a little bit of cash, some shares, 2.5 million shares, and then we have a royalty, a 2.75% royalty on future production. So the beige is what I showed you before. That's our Langmuir project. We've expanded it out. There's a group of claims to the south of the property as well, but the red with Carmen has no royalty on it, and the blue with Shaw Dome has that 2.75%. So what we're doing now with this acquired land is we closed on it this week. We're jamming through all of the available historical data. I'm going to get to that in a second. We're redoing our geophysical analysis on the property. Same thing we did with Langmuir last year. We're going to rerun all those numbers and figure out what targets it shows us. And we've already begun our application for the permits. So we anticipate, as I say here, we're going to go after high grade and large scale targets, which is a new thing for EVNI. I hope to be drilling this summer. So let's get into the 5 reasons. First is on this land, we've got new high grade targets. So this is our expanded land package now. There's 3 that we're really excited about. One is actually on a former mine. Langmuir number 2 had lots of production, 1 million tons at almost 1.5% nickel. It has a deep shaft on the property. We're going to go after that because we think there's more mineralization left on the books. Over to the west, the Croxall target, they had very interesting hits. We're going to get back in there with a proper program. And then to the south, on the property to the south, the Matthew, we're going to try to do some trenching there this summer, I think. So high-grade targets, that's interesting. But then there's this new thing for us, these large scale targets. So if I think about large scale, the great example is our friends at Canada Nickel. They've had tremendous success in the markets, specifically around their main zone from Crawford. Now, when they came out with their first resource in 2020, what they did is they drilled about 15,000 meters. And to give you some context, a mediocre performing drill does about 2,000 meters of diamond drilling in a month. So they did 15,000 meters, identified a deposit which ended up being about 1.8 kilometers long by 360 meters wide. And that got them their billion tons at 0.25% nickel. So I'm going to come back to those dimensions in a second, but that's really what we're targeting here when we talk about large scale targets, what they've been able to do. So we've got a couple areas we're really excited about. I call them the Carmen and the Adams El Dorado targets, and we'll come back to this. So the second reason I'm excited, or sorry, the third reason I'm excited is the government maps interpretation. So the Ontario Geologic Society, or survey, identified in their interpretation of the geology on our acquired property these really interesting dunites primarily. Those are the purple shaded on this slide. So the OGS, separate from us, I've already interpreted that there are very likely deposits on this land that look like what Canada Nickel has. So these large scale targets. Here's my fourth reason. There have been some surface grab samples, which is really interesting work done by a group from University of Alabama. They went and they did surface sampling across the entire Shaw Dome. And on this, I show you with the colored dots, the grade of those surface samples. And again, this is right up to surface. So overburden's one thing, but outcrop is what they've tested. And up in that Carmen area, there have been 40 samples and that graded 0.33. So that's a very high grade just from the outcrop. So I'm really excited about that in terms of the grab samples. And finally, our fifth reason, and again, we're jamming through all of the data that the vendor had and all of the historic data. So this government stuff that's also out there, like these academic studies. We discovered a vendor airborne map, which we hadn't seen before. And my geo team, again, deeply experienced guys, didn't realize this had been flown. Very exciting though. This shows you across our land package, those two areas, Carmen and Adams El Dorado, in terms of the magnetic intensity. So the pinks and the purples are really exciting. It lights right up. So we're really excited to get in to try to figure out how much we can have of this large scale. And on this, we've shown the Crawford main zone dimensions just to give a sense of how much we may have. Zoomed in on this one. So that oval bottom left gives you a sense of how big CNC's Crawford is. And if you look at how ours is lighting up, we're really, really excited about the potential based on this airborne map that actually our technical team didn't realize had been flown on the land before. So that's our thing. Very simple. Wanted to give a quick run through. I'm very excited about this acquisition. It opens us up for a heck of a lot of prospectivity. And we're excited to get in. As I say, I hope we're drilling on this new property starting this summer. There you go, Dasha.
Great. Thank you so much. Very quick, but lots of information. I do have a few questions. And of course, if anyone watching has questions, feel free to submit them. But is this the extent of land in the Shaw Dome that EV Nickel is pursuing?
A good question. So there is still patches that we're going after. This was the biggest block across the Shaw Dome. We're excited we got this across the line. But there are still groups who control claims on the Shaw Dome. Some are small-time prospectors with whom we've been doing deals. But we're also working with a couple of other groups who have land that we want to get our hands on.
Great. Thank you. And are you pursuing any funding from Ontario and Canada based on recent announcements?
Right. That's, yeah. So obviously a big focus for everyone has been the excitement from levels of government around the basically the decarbonization thing, but specifically within the EVs. So we are in touch with the provincial government. We've been in regular meetings with them. Their announcement around the EV strategy came out a few weeks ago, and we were part of those sessions in the run-up. A member of our board was at the announcement when the Premier announced the rollout of funding. So we're very well positioned on what had been announced with the provincial government. With the new budget from the feds, obviously a big focus in there has been the EVs, and we are in touch with the federal government. The thing, it's less of direct subsidies to companies like mine. What I'm most excited about the government work has been just generally for the ecosystem. So what it means for someone who hopes to be selling nickel into the EV thing is the more of that business, which is happening either in our province or in our country, just helps out with this general interest. So it's maybe not directly coming to EV nickel, but surely boosting that ecosystem across the entire sort of battery supply chain for the EVs. It helps companies like ours who want to be selling nickel into that.
Right. Absolutely. Well, thank you. And are you looking beyond the Shaw Dome for potential land?
Yes. So our thing is, and we will be talking more and more about this in the coming weeks, our thing is developing a clean nickel business. So I've been talking about the tremendous prospectivity of the Shaw Dome, but there are other areas that we have our eyes on as we intend to be growing and look for more mineralization. In addition, we've been trying to understand how we can actually be building a business. So we don't want to be just guys who are finding interesting minerals in the ground. We want to generally become a nickel business. So that means geographically, we're focused on other potential areas of mineralization, but also pieces of the supply chain that we're doing work on.
Great, thank you. We got a question here from one of our attendees asking, when will we get more drill results in the dome and what is the timeline?
Yeah, so our phase 2 drill program, the one we're doing now with the 10,000 meters. So we are drilling every day and we intend to have results on that in the coming months. That's on the phase 2, which is focused on the Langmuir project. So on these acquired lands, the timeline for that is we're spending the next 2 months doing 3 things. 1, we're continuing to jam through the historical data. 2, we've sent out all of the EM data for reinterpretation by Condor, the same group that did it for Langmuir last year. And the third thing is we've applied for our permits. So the permits have a timeline. They take up to a couple months. That'll be the same time it takes for Condor to be running their analysis. And we'll continue to take as much time as we can get to jam through all of the existing data. So timeline-wise for drilling and getting results on the acquired lands, I'm hoping that we're in there drilling this summer, and then we'll have results a couple months after that.
Great. Well, Sean, thank you so much for taking us through why EV nickel is expanding in the Shaw Dome. And I know this was a quick summit with lots of information. So if anyone does have any questions following the summit, feel free to reach out directly to EV Nickel. You can also find more information on their website, evnickel.com. And of course, this has been recorded and will be available to watch again on 6.com. But I'll pass it back to you if you want to close out with any final remarks.
Yeah, this lightning round presentation, I know I went through a lot of material very quickly. Dasha, as you said, much more is available on our website, and we are always available if people want to go into more depth. So I appreciate everyone taking time out to participate today, and we look forward to talking about more and more as we learn more, especially about these acquired lands.